Prewrath teaches something remarkable, that Jesus' own return is the very thing that cuts the Great Tribulation short, ending it early for the church, before it reaches its full 3.5 years. And since no one can know the day or hour of Jesus' return, they say no one can know exactly when the Great Tribulation ends, or how long it actually lasts. But is that what Jesus himself actually said? Let's test both halves of that claim against Jesus' own words, starting with what he said about the tribulation itself. As shown in the previous video linked below, Jesus didn't leave the Great Tribulation he was talking about undefined. In Matthew 24:15-21, referencing Daniel, he said, "When you see the abomination of desolation, flee Judea, for then there will be a great tribulation, such as has not occurred since the beginning of the world until now, nor ever will." That's the same language Daniel used. Daniel 11:31 through chapter 12 verse 2 says, "The abomination of desolation triggers a time of tribulation such as has never occurred since there was a nation until that time." Both Jesus and Daniel describe their tribulation as the singular, unmatched, worst tribulation there has ever been. And two separate events can't both be the singular, unmatched, worst tribulation in history at the same time. So Jesus' own words prohibit treating his tribulation and Daniel's as two separate ones. He didn't introduce a new tribulation. He identified his with Daniel's. Same trigger, same starting time, and the same unique description that separates it from every other tribulation in history at the time it starts. That one tribulation is measured precisely. Daniel 9:27 places it from the abomination of desolation, at the midpoint of the 7-year period to the end of that period. Daniel 7:25 says the Antichrist will have authority for time, 1 year, times 2 years, and half a time, half a year, equaling 3.5 years. And Daniel 12:7 says the tribulation itself lasts that same length. Revelation confirms it. The Antichrist is given authority for 42 months over every tribe, people, and tongue. Revelation 13:5-7. And the Great Tribulation likewise lasts a time, times, and half a time, 42 months, or 1,260 days. Revelation 12:6-14, Revelation 11:1-2. The Antichrist's authority and the tribulation's length are the same measure, and it touches not only the church or Israel, but every tribe, people, and tongue, saved or unsaved, Revelation 13. This debunks the claim that no one can know the tribulation's duration or its end. So, although Jesus said that no one can know the day of his return, he never said that no one can know the day the Great Tribulation starts or ends. Rather, Scripture clearly gives the exact event by which we will know that the Great Tribulation has started, the abomination of desolation, and gives the duration of the Great Tribulation as exactly 3.5 years, or 1,260 days. So, those who witness the abomination of desolation can count and accurately know the exact day the Great Tribulation will end. Now let's consider the other half of the claim, that Jesus' coming is what cuts the tribulation short and brings it to an end. Nowhere in Scripture does the Bible claim that the appearing of Jesus coincides with the end of the Great Tribulation. Rather, after Jesus clearly defined the Great Tribulation he was referring to, he said this in Matthew 24:29-31. "Immediately after the tribulation of those days the sun will be darkened, and the moon will not give its light, and the stars will fall from the sky. And then the sign of the Son of Man will appear in the sky. And they will see the Son of Man coming on the clouds, and he will send forth his angels, and they will gather together his elect." Matthew 24:29-31. According to Jesus himself, he returns after the Great Tribulation has already ended, not that his coming shortens it and brings it to an end. Those are two completely different and mutually exclusive claims. Because Jesus said he returns after the tribulation has already ended, his return cannot also be the event that shortens it and brings it to an end. The shortening had to occur before he appears. Since Scripture has already established that this same tribulation lasts 3.5 years, it follows that by the time Jesus appears, the tribulation has already completed its shortened, God-appointed duration of 3.5 years. In other words, the Great Tribulation does not continue indefinitely. It is shortened to its God-appointed duration of 3.5 years, and then comes to an end. Only after the tribulation of those days does Jesus appear. Jesus' coming does not shorten the tribulation. It follows it. In fact, Jesus gave a clear sequence in Matthew 24:29-31. The tribulation ends first. Then the signs in the sun, moon, stars, and heaven immediately follow. Then his sign appears and he comes and gathers his elect. The claim that Jesus appearing brings the Great Tribulation to an end distorts the order of events Jesus himself gave. Although many quote Jesus as saying he returns immediately after the Great Tribulation, that is not what Jesus said. Rather, he said the events that immediately follow the Great Tribulation are the signs in the sun, moon, stars, and the heavens, followed by the appearing of his sign in the sky and his coming. How long it takes after those cosmic signs for Jesus to actually return is not specified in Matthew 24. Consequently, no one can predict the exact day or hour of Jesus' return. However, in the book of Revelation, where Jesus himself speaks on the same subject, we are shown that it could take at least months after the Great Tribulation before he appears. We shall delve deeper into this in a future video. So the claim that Jesus' coming shortens the Great Tribulation to less than 3.5 years for the church is not supported by Jesus' own words. According to the Bible, there is only one Great Tribulation with a definite length of 3.5 years, not shortened by Jesus' appearing. Rather, Jesus returns only after the Great Tribulation has already come to an end. So here's the question. If Jesus himself says he comes after the tribulation has already ended, why should we reinterpret his return as the event that ends it? Are we following the sequence Jesus gave, or are we asking his words to fit a theological framework? Building on scripture, not assumption, is what prepares us for the times we're in. Thanks for watching. Please like, share, and subscribe. And for more biblical resources on the end time, see the video description and the bio. God bless you.